Welcome to Coffee with Paul, where your city manager talks about topics that are important to you.
Well, welcome back to another Coffee with Paul. Today we have Jason Merkley with the Brookings Hospital here to talk a little bit about vaccines. We get a lot of questions throughout the community right now about where we're at, how things are going to roll out, what we're anticipating. So Jason's with us here today as kind of our central point for our community to talk a little bit about how things are going. So welcome, Jason, to Coffee with Paul.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Happy to be here. Look forward to the conversation.
Wonderful. So Jason, help us understand what is the current vaccine availability here in Brookings?
So, vaccines are allocated from the state level, who obviously in turn is getting it from a federal level. And it is done via the health systems who have stepped up to be able to try to get this daunting feat accomplished here over the next however long it takes us. But allocations are coming to us weekly, and they are allocated again through the Department of Health. They really don't have a good estimate of what's going on a week-to-week basis. That's not their fault. It's just that there's so many unknowns in regards to production, and obviously we're trying to deal with this across the country. So on a week-to-week basis, we kind of get told how many are coming this direction for our county. Same holds true for Avera and the counties that they are responsible for, in Sanford and Monument and Prairie Lakes and up in Watertown, et cetera. So everybody the cadence kind of comes from them. And then we've been seeing a little bit of a kind of an increase in our allocations, which is great to see. Obviously, right now, the demand far exceeds the supply, and that's what's causing obviously a lot of questions and a lot of people questioning sometimes how we're doing. But when you look at the numbers across the country, South Dakota is really in pretty good shape. Matter of fact, I think last time I looked, we were like number 3 in the country of based upon our population of percentage of vaccine in arms. And so here in Brookings, currently we were around that 400 level. That just took a little bit of an uptick. Hopefully next week, and hopefully that continues to stay true and hold true for our future and continue to increase.
Wonderful. You know, I know throughout the state, we're closer to 6 or 7% for total vaccinated population. Here in Brookings County, I believe it's closer to 5%. And just as you say, that is all predicated on how many vaccinations we get from the state. Jason, talk to me a little bit about the groups that are being vaccinated. I know they're categorized. Can you tell me what category you're currently in and how long it should take to get us through that group and what's next?
So we're currently in what the State Department of Health's plan calls 1D. We still have some 1C, I'll call them stragglers, that come in that may have been out of town. Maybe we missed because we were calling those, weren't able to locate them within our county. So we continue to vaccinate a few of those on a weekly basis. Maybe I'd say a couple dozen. But for the most part, we're smack dab kind of in the first priority group as we sub-prioritize from a state level the 1D group, which in our case is the 80-plus-year-olds and anybody that is considered high risk. So 80 plus is a pretty easy category by age, makes sense. But the high risk is a little bit less easy to be able to identify those folks. And so we've worked with the Sanford and Avera Clinic here locally to identify those health risk factors. And so they're doing that through their electronic health records, and they're reaching out to those highest risk individuals in any population, quite honestly. You could be 40 and be a high risk individual that has cancer or on dialysis or whatever it might be. Those people will be candidates to get their vaccination right now. And then what will happen, as we discussed this at the state level here just this week, is we'll start moving down by age category. It sounds as though we'll do 5-year increments at a time. So our next one will be 75 plus. And so we'll continue down that line till we hit the 65 plus, which is ultimately the category that 1D covers, as well as in 1D, which are not necessarily the same priority level, but a little less risk associated with these categories. But that includes university faculty and employees at SDSU, also includes school district employees across our county, Funeral service workers are in there, and then I might be missing one other small, congregate housing and congregate groups. And so we are working, those are pretty high risk groups. So we're working right now with contacting them. Just as an example, I think we have advance clients and staff certainly scheduled here in group homes. I believe it's early next week.
So Jason, you talked about the number of vaccinations that we're getting here in the community coming from the state. I've also heard rumors about a potential mass vaccination. Is there potential for that to happen here in Brookings? What would it take, and how does that look?
Yeah, so we have a preparedness group that's been meeting for quite some time in this county and is very active. And we've looked at and actually done pod events, point of distribution events in this county before. And so I think those things are being planned. They are really dictated based upon the allocation. So I think in meeting with the pod, and planning for the pod, there's lots of things they can do from a pre-planning standpoint, but obviously the allocations have to be there to make this efficient. We're going to rely upon lots of volunteers. So if anybody does want to volunteer, certainly reach out to us and we'll put you in contact with those individuals. But the pod event itself probably is, looking at least 1,000 doses for them to be able to stand this up, location to be determined. But certainly working with volunteers in our community and all the logistics that come along with not only doing the vaccinations, but the other challenge obviously is with the COVID guidelines and following what we need to from a standpoint of social distancing and all those other things that come along with that. So I would say that, it's certainly our hope that, that's somewhere in our near future. But it is all based upon allocations being high enough that we can stand up that pod event and be able to feel comfortable that we're doing it for the right reasons.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about those most at risk that will be put higher on the priority for getting the vaccination. How will individuals know when it's time for them to get the vaccine? Will they be contacted? What is the process there?
So it's a struggle, right? So that's part communication is difficult to begin with. And obviously this is a big challenge as we begin to work our way down that list that in 1D from a prioritization standpoint. And so as we speak today, most of those individuals are getting contacted by us meaning either Avera, Sanford, or Brookings Health System within our county. And that works well for a while, but you can believe me when I say the numbers just start to multiply when we go down in age groups. And so when you get to 70 and 65-year-olds, there's a lot of people in those categories. Reaching out to thousands of people is just not it's just not going to be able to happen, and certainly not going to be able to happen very efficiently. And so what our process will be, we'll probably switch gears to really doing some significant communication out to our county through paper, radio, websites, all those sorts of mediums that hopefully get people, one, knowledgeable about when it is their time, and then two, how they go about signing up to get their vaccine. So I would envision a hotline or something being set up, them being able to call that when it's their time, their group, their priority. I'm 65, okay, I qualify. I'm going to call this number, and then they'll walk them through that sign up, because without scheduling these individuals, it becomes mass chaos. And we've seen that on TV time after time on newscasts. And so we don't want lines, a mile long for people to get a vaccine and then it not be coordinated and organized. So we'll work through that scheduling process, and we'll probably be asking them to again, call us or sign up via this link and give them opportunities to do that at that time.
So a lot of information, Jason, a lot of questions by people out there in the community wanting to know when's their time, what does this mean? Who can residents call when they do have questions? Where can they find information out there for our community?
So the best, so you can go to the Department of Health website. That will then redirect you via the Brookings County to our website from a Brookings Health standpoint. So, brookingshealth.org would give you the information to find We do have a vaccination waiting list where you can submit your information. Again, as we prioritize those groups, we will work through that and scrub that list. Obviously, that's the best place to go, would be our website. And then obviously, if they want to sign up, then we will do everything we can to try to communicate to them when it is their time. We've seen a lot of people sign up that it isn't their time, and I wanted to make sure people understand that doesn't mean we're ignoring you. It's just that we have lots of people that it is their time, and it takes a lot of resources to make this happen. And phone calls and those sorts of things are really resource intensive, and reaching back out to people that are 50 years old that really don't qualify in this category is not our priority right now. It's those that are 80 plus, and so we want to make sure we're hitting those. But we will get back to you when it is your time, or we will do that mass communication out to our county to let them know where they can call again when it is their time, based upon dropping down in those priority groups.
Wonderful. So it sounds like check your website. cityofbrookings.org is another great website. Follow us on social media, your newspaper, your radio. We're going to have a lot of information out there for people. And at the same time, it sounds like we're telling people have patience. It's going to take some time, and it's going to flow based on age and risk at the same time. But while people are waiting, what are some of the things that we can be doing to help each other out, Jason?
Well, I think, you kind of mentioned that it's going to take time. And so patience and grace and those things are going to be significantly important in this process. It is, as I mentioned earlier, the supply of vaccine is far less than the demand right now. And so it's great that we have a lot of interested individuals and getting the vaccine, and that's fantastic. And so take the time to understand where you might fit in that priority subgrouping that the Department of Health has put out. And then secondly, do some research on the vaccine, talk to your neighbors. This is the only way right now that we envision us being able to move, our county and our state and our country forward here, is by getting a good uptake in acceptance of taking the vaccine. And I got to be honest, right now, I'd like to see it be higher. So, from a percentage standpoint, we need people to get vaccinated so we feel like we can kind of re-engage and get back into some level of normalcy. But right now, it's practice patience. Remember that we're doing everything we can from a standpoint of within this county to get vaccinations in arms, and we're doing a really good job of it, honestly. Great level of commitment by my staff and Avera and Sanford and other health systems across the state to make this happen. And bear with us. We'll get to you as soon as we possibly can. We'll do the other events that we can when we get vaccines to make those things happen. And we are certainly not sitting on vaccine here, waiting around. We're putting it in people's arms as quickly as we possibly can. And so patience and grace.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate all that your staff does and our medical community here in Brookings for the county and for our community. One thing I would strongly recommend and ask our community, it takes all of us to do our part. So continue to follow those CDC guidelines, wear a mask, social distancing, doing our part that we can do while we patiently wait for those vaccinations to come through for all of us. Jason, anything you would like to say or leave us with before we end this week's Coffee with Paul?
Gosh, no, it's been a great opportunity here. I'm gonna have to do this more often. So I appreciate you taking the time with me today. And again, if anybody has any questions, certainly look up our information on the website or don't hesitate to get a hold of the 211 hotline. They'll be helpful from that perspective too. Give you information on all the vaccine information as well as COVID information.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again, Jason. Once again, I encourage everyone to pay attention to those social media sites that we mentioned, not only Brookings Health, City of Brookings. Check out our social media pages, web pages, local media, and hopefully we can get more information out as those vaccinations become more available. But until then, continue to do your part, mask up, social distance, follow the CDC guidelines. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And thanks for joining us with Coffee with Paul, Jason.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care.